little lovebirds. I am so excited to paint this Be Mine painting with you. So grab everything in your art kit and cover your paint surface just in case this is not washable. Put on some comfy paint clothes. Grab yourself a water cup for cleaning your brushes, maybe a beverage and a snack, and turn on some music. Why not? I like to paint to music. I just can't do it in here because I'm talking. So, anyway, we are gonna get started. Remember, you can pause me and play me at any time, especially if I'm moving a little faster. That is the convenience of having the videos pre-recorded. So I'm going to start with my biggest brush that is flat and pointy on each corner. And your paint is in the tins. I highly suggest leaving them in the tins unless we're mixing a color. If we're mixing a color, then you can scoop them onto your plate. I've already done one video today, so that's why my paint plate's all mixed up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use the straight turquoise, so you don't even have to put it on your plate. I'm going to hold my brush just like I hold a pencil, right where the metal and the handle touch, and I'm going to get started. Now, one thing about this turquoise that's a little different than the other paints is it's not quite as see-through as the other paint. So I'm going to teach you a little trick. Now, if you don't want to do turquoise in your background, don't. Maybe you want to make a sky blue. Maybe you want to make like a black background. You can make it like a night sky. Maybe you don't want it to be like a sky. Maybe you want it to just be your favorite color, pink or purple, whatever works. So here's a little trick that I have learned to make your colors be a little bit more see-through. Obviously, spread them out as much as you can. Try to fill in all these little bitty white spots if you can. But another trick is take your brush, dip it in your water cup, kind of shake it out a little, and then you can rub that little bit of dampness over the letters. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring the Sharpie through just a little bit more. Okay, now if you still can't see it after doing that, because you don't want to put too much water on there, but if you still can't see it after doing that, a trick a high schooler taught me, of course, right, is turn the flashlight on your phone or get a flashlight, stick it behind the canvas, and the light shows through, and where the black Sharpie is, it'll bring that back out so you can see it to trace later at the end when this is all dry. Now, one thing to think about when you're painting is you do not want any little bitty white spots showing, okay? So if you see those little bitty white spots showing, it's like your canvas is screaming at you, add more paint. It's a good thing these canvases can't talk, right? Okay, here we go. So I am gonna get this all outlined. Now, the nice thing about these brushes is the bristles are stiff enough that they, even though they're bigger, you can still totally use them to outline around the details, okay? And then, of course, you can turn the bristles this way or that way to make a thinner or a thicker line, okay? Here we go. So we'll get around here. Remember, you hold your brush just like you hold a pencil, and you take your time. If I'm going too fast, you just pause me. Now, granted, you know, if it's live, you can't pause me, but that's the nice thing about doing this. My kids at school said they love my videos that I've been putting because we have to upload videos for them to do on their off days, and they love those because they can pause me when they want to. And they're like, that's so cool, Mrs. Scott. We can't do that at school. I was like, nope, you can't pause this mouth at school. Okay, so I'm getting this all outlined, just like this. Oop. If you get a little bit of paint where it doesn't belong, you might be able to wipe it off real quick with your fingertip, or you can wrap your napkin around your finger, dip it in your water, and then just rub, and clean it up. But really, I wouldn't worry about it too much because you're just going to cover it up with whatever color, you know, you're painting your birds, okay? So I am going to get this done right here. Here we go. And then Get that outlined. Awesome. Now, before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and do this top edge. I do like to do my edges. So I'm going to get this top edge done just like this. And then I'm going to bring my colors down the side as well. And the reason I like to do my edges is because I'm a little bit of a sloppy painter when I'm doing backgrounds. And so by doing your edges, it's like you meant to paint the sides on purpose anyway, right? Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to grab a hold down here because there's nothing wet. Turn it sideways and I can do this edge over here. Now remember, you're doing whatever your happy heart desires. You do not have to follow along with me exactly. I am just here to offer you some guidance and some suggestions, okay? All right. Now, if you do not feel comfortable outlining with this big guy, you can always, but see, it does make a nice, great outline. You can always switch one of your smaller pointy brushes and use that to outline, right? Oop. Gracious. Okay. But again, we don't stress about having little oopsies when we're painting because those are totally fixable, okay? So we really don't stress about it. There we go. Get that all filled in. Once we get the background done, the rest of it will be way more fun. I always say you got to take care of the boring part first because it's like we're mapping it all out, and then you can do the more fun stuff, okay? Now, I'm going to do my birds pink and red. The birdie with the lashes is the girly, and the other birdie is the boy. There we go. But you can do whatever colors you want. You could even go like blue like a blue jay, red like a cardinal. You could do robin. You could do purple, right? It's a painting. There's not very many rules when it comes to art. Okay, so right now I'm just kind of scanning over, making sure I don't have any little bitty white spots showing. All right. So lovely. Oh, I do see a spot I missed right here under the wing, guys. Don't miss your spot. And again, if you don't trust yourself with the big brush and a gentle touch, then you definitely can switch to a littler brush, right? You do what you're comfortable with, okay? There. Now to clean our brush goes all the way in the water cup, and then we smush and swirl. Smush and swirl, just like this. And then we wipe on the inside because if I were to tap, I'm going to splash everywhere. And if you're painting with someone, you will upset them. Okay? Okay. Okay. Now, I could use the same brush, I guess. Now, this is where you can get your paint plate out in your tins again. And this time I'm going to get a little bit of white. I don't need well, I guess I need to get a little bit more. And you could do brown for your branch, or you could go totally different and do like black and mix in with your white and make like a gray tree branch, right? Totally up to you. A little bit of black, guys, though, goes a long ways, okay? So just do a little bit at a time. You can't take it out once it's in there, right? Okay. So now, I guess really I need to go ahead and flip it. If the top is not completely dry, that's okay, friends, because I dipped that in my water just now to kind of thin it out over the Sharpie. But the reason why it's okay is because really you don't see the top of the painting. I just did it in case you did see it. So it's okay if there's a little imperfections, but if it bothers you, you could always take a break, let all of this background dry, right? And then come back to it. You could take you a little dance break or a snack break. Or you could be like me, and the only reason we use a blow dryer, or I use a blow dryer, is to dry my canvases. I don't use a blow dryer to dry my hair. Okay. Here we go. There we go. right, now I did turn my bristles to where they're horizontal or left and right, so that way I can carefully outline. Now the nice thing is, honestly, don't even worry about making that a straight line because it's a branch, right? Branches aren't straight. So it's okay if it's not perfect because it is organic. Now, if you need to thin that back out a little bit, like I did earlier, you dip in your water, shake that out, and then you can kind of go back over that. Whoop, shake that out, and it'll thin that out just a little bit, okay? So you can see those lines again. All right. Plus it fills in all that texture. Okay, I'm getting over here on this edge since I did all my other edges and the bottom. Okay. Now, I am going to let this hang out in the water cut for a minute. And really, I think I'm done with that Big Dog Daddy because everything else is much smaller. So now, I could take a little brown and mix that into some of my gray. So I kind of have a grayish brown and kind of sweep that in spots just to give it some fun texture. And this is just a flick, flick, flick. It's a flick of the wrist. Flick, flick, flick. Flick, flick, flick. There we go. Awesome sauce. Okay. Then I can take a little bit more black and add that back in over here where I still have gray left. Add some more black. Remember, we just do a little bit at a time when it comes to the black because a little bit will go a long way, especially since I'm not mixing very much paint right now at all. If you don't trust yourself to do those fun swirls with the paintbrush, then you could most definitely let all this dry and go back and do those swirls with the Sharpie. Realistically, it's not that noticeable. Sometimes it's not noticeable at all when you use a Sharpie to do your details or your outlining, especially from a distance, and it makes you feel more confident. Okay, now I'm going to just kind of hit the top of this tree branch a little with my darker gray. There we go. And then I could even get some straight, ooh, that's really dark, isn't it? Get some straight black on my brush if you wanted to. And if you can't see your texture anymore or you want to add extra, go for it. This is now your painting. It's not mine. You do you, right? You do what you think is going to be beautiful. If it's too bold, you just go over it a couple times and it kind of makes it blend in to the whatever's colors underneath it. So like the gray or the brownish gray, and then it just sort of goes away. It's not as noticeable, right? Okay, so this brush can get cleaned, so we'll just throw that in the water cup. And the bottom's not completely dry, but again, doesn't matter. Okay, flip it around. Look at all these cute guys behind me. They're all Valentine's art kits. Okay, now I love this brush as well. It's the second biggest brush in the kit, and it has rounded corners. So I'm only cleaning it because I didn't clean it out very well after the last painting. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that just in case. You need a dry brush though to start, so I'm not doing that to get a wet brush. Now I need pink. So I know that white and red is going to give me pink. The more red I put in there, the darker pink it will be. So that's up to you, what you want to go for, okay? And very carefully, I am going to outline and fill in. Now, if you don't love the black Sharpie lines that are all on here, and you don't really want to see them come the end of the painting, then just purposefully paint on top of them every time you paint. So like I could purposefully have painted over them when I was doing my background, purposefully could be painting over them right now. But if you do like them, don't worry if you cover them up a little bit. You can bring them back out with your permanent marker when everything is 100% dry. Do not use a permanent marker on wet paint though, because you will ruin it. Okay, so we're outlining and outlining. There we go. Get that filled in. Oh yeah. This little painting makes me happy, but Valentine's Day just makes me happy. I think because it's a day that everybody just kind of slows down. Not everybody, but a lot of people just kind of slow down a little bit, and they're just a little kinder, little sweeter, little nicer, and they take that extra step to tell somebody or show somebody that they love them. And I think that's why I love Valentine's Day so much. Okay. So there is my pink little bird. I love her. So if I wanted to, I could clean my baby brush, wipe, dry, and I could take some red, mix into my pink that I just made, and I could use a little bit of this and just kind of sweep it in on top of my lighter pink, like on the belly area. So what that does is it darkens up the underside a little bit, so it creates like a little bit of shadow, right? And by doing that, even though this is definitely not realistic, excuse me, it does give it a little bit of a realistic feel, okay? Yay. Okay. Now you don't have to do this extra step. It's just if you want to. Just gives it a little extra something, right? Then I could darken it up even a little bit more. Or you could go lighter, right? And fill in the wing with a little bit different value of pink. And the reason being is so that we don't lose the wing. If I did it the same color as the body, I would kind of lose that wing. It would just blend right in, right? So we want to do it a little different color. Or you could do it entirely a whole different color. I'm merely offering suggestions. I love it when people go rogue and do their own thing. Kids tend to go rogue a little bit more than adults. It's kind of cute. Adults are more likely to follow the rules or follow along, and kids are more likely to do their own thing. Just shows you we have more free spirit when we're younger. Okay. Now I could just pop a little bit on the top part of the wing of my lighter pink that I was using earlier, just to follow along with that whole like lighter value, darker value in there. Like that? Yes. So cute. Okay. So now, I don't want that to fall on me. Okay. Back in the water. Back in the water. Okay, so for the boy bird on the right over here, I'm doing him red. And I can start with the red that's just in my tin, right? The red that comes in your kit, just in your tin. So I can start with just my red, like this. And then I'll show you a little trick for darkening up your red. Some people think black, but to me, when you add black to red, it sometimes will, I don't know why, but sometimes it'll take it to the purple side. There we go. So we just outline and fill in. Outline and fill in. Oh, yes. Okay. Get this little tail filled in. Remember, if you are seeing little bitty white spots, that means you don't have enough paint on your brush. And if you don't feel comfortable using this big brush with the rounded corners, yours, switch to one of your smaller brushes. There is a smaller one that is not tiny, but it is smaller than this one, and it's flat. It has flat tip on it, and you could use that. Okay, now, there we go. Now, watch this. I can take green. Now, how do you make green? Forgot I already had green on here because of the last painting, but we need to talk about that, don't we? Okay, so you take yellow, and then I put a little bit of blue into my yellow. So you would put a small pile, because I don't even need this much green, do I? The more blue I put in, the darker the green gets. You don't even need this much. You need like an eraser, like a pencil eraser size amount of yellow, and then a tiny amount of blue. But the more blue you add, the darker the green will be, okay? So I'm going to roll all that extra off, get me just a little bit over in the side of my red. I'm going to mix that green in, and what it does is it darkens up our green, okay? I mean our red, excuse me. The more green I put in there, the darker my red will be. So, red and green are complementary colors, and you can use them to darken the other. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so I can use either brush, smaller brush or bigger brush. Just remember, don't ever leave your brushes out for too long if they have paint in them, okay? So now I use this darker red. See, isn't that nice? And I can paint in. Go ahead and paint these in. Just like that. Now, if it's a little see-through, like this is a little see-through, that's okay, guys, because instead of putting it on really thick like I used to do when I was younger, what I've learned is just put a normal layer of paint on, let it dry, and then you can put a second layer of paint on real quick, okay? Same thing if I want to kind of darken up the underbelly just a little, I can just sweep in a little bit of this darker red. I don't want to put too much because I don't want the wing to blend into the body. I can put a little bit on the underside of the tail. There we go. Little bit more. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So cute. Okay, now I'm not going to clean my brush. I'm just going to wipe it off on my napkin. Like, just get it all off. You can clean it if it bothers you. I don't clean my brush a whole lot when I'm painting. I'm going to start on this side of the heart with my lighter pink. This was the original pink that I painted my birdie with. Go nice and slow. And as I fill in my heart, I'm going to fill it in with curved brush strokes that follow the outline of the heart. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of the darker pink that we made and kind of blend that just a little bit into the light pink. Isn't that pretty? Okay, now I leave all this in my brush still. Grab just a little bit more red so I can blend in just a little bit more. If you're like, oh no, that's too much, then you go on top of the dark, and then you blend up, down, with your curved brush stroke, up, down, into the lighter, and back into the darker. Blends it right in. So pretty, okay? Again, if you don't trust yourself with this brush, use the one that's one step down smaller, not tiny, okay? Still leaving all of that pink in my brush. And now I'm doing red. Oops. If you get out of the lines, we don't even worry about it. Nobody's going to know unless you tell them. And then now I can start getting into some of the darker red. some more dark red. And after it dries a little bit, I may be able to go back and blend in just a little bit more dark right there on that right side, you know? Okay. Fabulous. Love it. Okay, so now I'm going to use, like I was saying, I can get my brush. If it's too wet and this won't work for you, let it dry some and come back to it, okay? I'm going to get my small brush that's pointy and flat on the end. I'm going to use my pinky to steady myself because my background is dry enough. And I am going to just bring this little bit, the darker red that we made, right on the edge of the heart, just like that. And I'm purposefully putting a little bit on my background just because I'm trying to kind of round out my heart just a little better. Okay. Now up close, this may look really streaky, but from a distance, it should look pretty smooth. Remember, paintings are not meant to be viewed super duper up close, okay? Because you see all the little imperfections and you don't want to see those, right? So if you view them, paintings are meant to be viewed from a little step away, right? Okay. Clean that off really good. You could use your bright yellow that's in your tin just the way it is, or a color that I really like is a little bit of purple mixed with a little bit of yellow. Doesn't take much, guys, because those beaks are tiny, okay? The more purple we put in, the darker the yellow gets, but it gives us kind of like a mustard yellow. You could even put a pop of white in there if you wanted to, okay? Never paint with a globby brush, so we roll the extra off. And outline, 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 and then we just fill in those little bitty beaks. It's just a super soft, gentle touch, okay? Outline, 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 fill in. Now it's up to you. You could trace the little legs with your beak color, or you could just, when it's all dry, go back with your Sharpie and trace the legs. I personally vote Sharpie because you have way more control, but your choice, okay? All right, so now, really, we're about done. We can take this same little brush, dip in our white, do a little whoop, do a little boop, do maybe a little shine on the head if you want, little pop on the wing, little pop right there on the tail, and right there on the tail. We can do the same thing on our dude over here, little boop. Don't have to, just if you want to. There we go. Can put a little shine on their beaks. Okay. Now, decision time. Do you want to use your permanent marker? I think my background's dry enough. Use your permanent marker and trace these letters, okay? Or do you want to use one of your very small, fine brushes that come in the kit, because there are some tiny ones, and use that to trace all your letters. So if you choose to do that, one thing I would suggest, it doesn't take much black, just get you a little bit on your plate, get you a wet brush and just rub that little bit of wetness into the black paint, and it runs it a lot thinner, and then you can use that to trace pretty smooth. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do as well. If you really just want the painting to continue. But if you are okay using the Sharpie, which, like I said, I highly recommend, then you just let all of this dry 100% and trace away with your Sharpie. Now, the Sharpie, since it's brand new, is really pointy and will make a really thin line. So you may have to kind of trace it a couple of times just to make a little bit thicker line. But that is okay, my friends. All right. Yay. Ooh, or if you had a paint pen, you could do that. You could use a paint pen. So we're just going to pretend I did all of that, whether it be Sharpie or paint. You can even retrace your birds, or if you don't want to retrace your birds, don't. You don't need to. You don't have to. Just totally up to you. You can retrace the branch. You can trace the legs. Remember the trick. You can shine a light behind your canvas to see all the lines show through again. So, thank you for joining me. There are so many fun Valentine art kits. There are still some Christmas art kits left that work perfect for winter. There is absolutely no reason why you could not paint a cute little penguin or a polar bear right now, right? That's also on the same page. So, and I have more art kits on the way. So make sure and continue checking out the website. Thanks so much for painting with me. I hope that you have a very happy Valentine's Day. Bye, guys.